Always so silent, so deceptive, it blankets everything, hiding the truth beneath. But tonight, no amount of snow can cover what's coming. The country awaits the bloody deportation of workers and the elimination of their 9 billion plus contribution into social services. God, I hate the poor.
Inside, Victor Cain, his face etched with ambition and ruthlessness, paced restlessly by the roaring fireplace, to watch the rights of the American people burned away by his cleansing holy war. The warmth did little to chase away the chill that had seeped into his bones. A chill that emanated not from the harsh winter, but from the anticipation of the night. Tonight was Krampusnacht, a night of ancient folklore and chilling dread. Victor, a man who had clawed his way to the precipice of ultimate power, dismissed the stories as mere superstition. He had faced down countless adversaries in his relentless pursuit of power, unburdened by conscience or remorse. Yet tonight, a flicker of unease danced in his steely gaze, a primal instinct that whispered of shadows lurking beyond the reach of reason. He pushed the thought away, clinging to the cold logic that had always guided him, dismissing his many criminal convictions. After all, he makes the rules now and possibly forever, the rules that only apply to other people, not him. The cabin, isolated and shrouded in the ghostly glow of the falling snow, had been his sanctuary in the final days before his imminent victory. Soon he would be sworn in as the leader of the free world, a position he had coveted with a hunger that bordered on obsession. The plan is that this will have been the last free election. Tonight, he was to meet with his closest allies, the architects of his ascent, to finalize the details of their iron-fisted rule. The American people are such poor, stupid sheep. His lies are their truths. God, he hates the poor.
Krampus. A tale for children, a monster to keep them in line. But I've never needed a fairy tale to guide me. People follow me like a god. Power is the only truth I've ever known. Now I control the masses. America will be made great again for Victor Cain and the elite.
The legend of Krampus had haunted his childhood, a cautionary tale whispered by firelight. A demonic entity with twisted horns, a beastly visage, and a tongue that dripped with malice. Krampus, they said, was the shadow of St. Nicholas, the punisher of the wicked, the scourge of the corrupt. He preyed on the wicked, dragging them to the depths of the underworld in chains. Victor had long since discarded such fables as the product of overactive imaginations. His world was one of power, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of self-interest. Morality was a tool to be wielded against the weak and uninformed, a weapon to be discarded when it no longer served his purpose. People will turn on their neighbors and friends for the smallest of lies, yet tonight the old stories stirred within him, a disquieting symphony of unease. He glanced at the antique grandfather clock ticking ominously in the corner, its pendulum swinging like a metronome counting down the seconds to midnight, the witching hour. The hour when Krampus was said to roam free, seeking out those who'd escaped justice, those whose hearts were stained with avarice and cruelty. A sardonic smile played across Victor's lips. Justice was a fickle mistress, he mused, often blind to the machinations of men like him. He had always made his own justice, shaping the world to suit his will. Krampus, if he existed, was nothing more than a phantom, a figment of a bygone era. Who is to judge Victor? The crunch of tires on snow heralded the arrival of his guests. 3 figures emerged from the darkness, their faces obscured by the swirling snow. They were his confidants, his co-conspirators, bound to him by ambition and the blood they had spilled together to secure their ascent.
Victor, my friend, it seems the night is as cold as our hearts, but here we are on the brink of greatness.
There was Senator Thorne, a man whose veneer of affability concealed a heart as cold and calculating as a viper's nest. His lips, perpetually stretched in a predatory smile, curled into a knowing smirk as he stepped into the warm cabin, his eyes glittering with avarice. He wanted to strip rights of most of the citizens and place power back on just the top nationalists.
Let's not waste time, Victor. We have much to discuss and the night is not getting any younger.
Next came Governor Hayes, her icy demeanour radiating an aura of power that belied her petite frame. She dealt in secrets, sold to the highest bidder. She had built her career on a foundation of fear and intimidation, crushing anyone foolish enough to stand in her path. Tonight, her gaze was fixed on Victor, a mixture of admiration and barely concealed ambition flickering in its depths.
The plans are in place, Victor. We move forward tonight, no hesitation, no turning back.
Last to enter was General Petrov, a hulking figure with eyes that seemed to hold the weight of countless battles. He is ready to push the genocide of the lesser races. His loyalty was unquestioning, his methods brutal and efficient. He was the sword to Victor's cunning, the enforcer who ensured their plans were carried out with ruthless precision. As the night deepened, the conversation flowed as freely as the whiskey they consumed. They spoke of policies designed to consolidate their power, of draconian laws meant to silence dissent, of a future where their will would be absolute. Victor listened intently, his mind a steel trap, absorbing their words, assessing their loyalty, ensuring that their ambitions aligned with his own. A sudden gust of wind howled outside, rattling the windows of the cabin like skeletal fingers. The fire in the hearth sputtered, its once bright flames dwindling into flickering embers, casting long, dancing shadows across the room. An unsettling chill settled over the gathering, a palpable shift in the atmosphere that not even the warmth of the whiskey could dispel. Victor noticed the change in his companions. Their faces, once flushed with excitement and anticipation, were now pale and drawn. Their eyes darted nervously towards the windows, as if sensing unseen eyes observing their every move. Even Petrov, the most stoic of the group, seemed ill at ease, his hand resting on the hilt of the ceremonial dagger he always wore at his side.
What's gotten into you all? We face down worse than a little wind and snow.
His words were met with uneasy silence. They all knew deep down that something was amiss. A low groan echoed from the roof, followed by the unmistakable sound of heavy chains dragging across the wooden shingles. The sound sent shivers down their spines, their eyes widening with primal fear. The stories, the legends they had dismissed as mere superstition, came flooding back, their minds conjuring up images of the Krampus, his twisted horns silhouetted against the moonlit sky.
It's just the wind, nothing to be concerned about.
Thorne stammered, his voice trembling despite his attempt to sound composed. But his words rang hollow, even to his own ears. The sounds were growing louder, closer, as if whatever was on the roof was moving towards them, drawn by their fear. Governor Hayes, her face ashen, clutched at the silver crucifix she wore hidden beneath her blouse. Her lips moved in silent prayer, a plea for salvation from a darkness she had never truly believed in until now. Even in her fear, a part of her recognized the irony. She, who had shown no mercy to others, now begged for it from a force she had always considered beneath her. Petrov rose from his seat, his hand still gripping the dagger. His eyes, hardened by years of war and bloodshed, scanned the room, searching for the source of the sounds. He had faced down countless enemies, but this unseen terror, this embodiment of ancient folklore, filled him with a dread he had never known. The fire in the hearth chose that moment to surrender completely, plunging the room into darkness. The only light now came from the flashes of lightning that illuminated the snow-covered landscape outside. The storm, which had been building all evening, had reached its crescendo, mirroring the turmoil that raged within the cabin. Suddenly, the heavy wooden door of the cabin burst open with a deafening crash. A blast of icy wind swept into the room, extinguishing the lanterns and sending a flurry of snow swirling across the floor. The shadows danced in the darkness, taking on grotesque and menacing forms. Victor, his heart pounding in his chest, fumbled for the pistol he always carried. His hand closed around the cold steel, but it offered little comfort. He was a man accustomed to dealing with tangible threats, with rivals he could outmaneuver or destroy. This felt different, ancient, primal. He heard the panicked gasps of his companions, felt the fear radiating from them like heat from a furnace. In that moment, stripped bare of their power and pretense, they were nothing more than terrified creatures, caught in the grip of a force far older and more powerful than themselves.